in the SEC, Tennessee goes to Pittsburgh and wins in overtime 34-27. And folks, Tennessee did everything they could to give this game away. I mean, punt gets blocked, fumble the ball twice, can't really run the ball effectively, but Hendon Hooker and company find a way to get it done. And the impressive thing to me about this game for Tennessee is they didn't necessarily have their plan A. Josh Heupel talked about it during the week. He told the Tennessee media, we want to run the football. Y'all know that as the media. We know that in our locker room. Guarantee you Pitt knows that. And they weren't able to really get anything going on the ground. And so what that does is that puts even more pressure on your quarterback, even more pressure on your freak show receiving core, a lot of pressure on Cedric Tillman, and they answered the call. They didn't have their right hook, so they had to go to their left jab and found a way to get it done on the road. But Pitt was tough as nails in the trenches, y'all. I mean, Pitt 1,000% won the point of attack. Abenaconda had 154 yards rushing. Anytime you run for 150 yards and lose the game, you know the other team was lighting up the scoreboard. Didn't get enough good DB play. And Pitt, that was the strategy going into the game, and that's who they are. To their credit, they are not parting from their identity. They're going to play tough in the run game, which they did, and they're going to leave their DBs in man-to-man. For the most part, that's who they're going to be. That's kind of their flavor, and they're cool with riding with that. And unfortunately, you live by the sword, you die by the sword if you're Pitt. Keaton Slovis played well for the most part early, went out of the game with an injury. You bring in Nick Patty, who Patty the Batty, played tough as nails. I was super impressed by him. Not good enough ultimately down the stretch. He was hobbling around as well. Didn't get great quarterback play from him, but I was impressed by the way that he battled through. He is a fan of me. Nick Patty does. So Pitt, again, pushed them as much as possible, took the game to overtime. But this, to me, speaks more to Tennessee than it does about Pitt. And that's not to knock Pitt. Just quite frankly, they've lost a lot. Kenny Pickett's gone to the NFL. Jordan Addison's in Los Angeles. Mark Whipple is at Nebraska. We'll talk about them here in a minute later in the show. But Pitt has lost so much to where, not that we didn't expect anything of them, but the pressure really is on Tennessee. Even though Pitt was number 17 ranked team in the country, the pressure nationally was on Tennessee because of how high we all believe their ceiling is, or the lack thereof. For Tennessee to find a way to win this game and win this game ugly. Again, the miscues, the blocked punt, the fumbles, all of that. To still find a way to win this game says a lot about where they're headed as a program. I think winning this game says a lot about what Josh Heupel's done there. Because the great teams, similar to what you saw Alabama do against Texas, the great teams win on their bad days. Now, I'm not saying Tennessee is the same as Alabama. Don't hear me incorrectly. But you got to be able to win games on the road. You got to be able to win games when it's just not your day. And make no mistake about it, it was not Tennessee's day. They weren't able to get the run game going. They didn't play great defense, honestly. They got good play when they needed it, and credit to their defensive front. They got after the quarterback, but it still allowed 27 points. As a whole, played well enough to win the game. Played well enough to win the game. Now, in that same token, they also probably played poorly enough to lose the game. And when that's the case, you got to have your superstar step up. And Hendon Hooker threw for over 300, made the plays he needed to, took care of the football offensively, in his regard at least. And then Cedric Tillman, he popped. You needed both those guys to step up in a game like this. And for them to both step up in the fashion they did, ultimately Cedric Tillman getting the game winner, what proved to be the game winner, there's no such thing as a bad win. There just isn't. Doesn't exist in the game of football. So credit Tennessee being able to, on their bad day, on an ugly day, being able to get it done on the road against defending ACC champion. You will never turn your nose up at a win. And Tennessee, I guarantee you, is not doing that as they win this game in overtime, 34-27. Hey, y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also, be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.